going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's early in the morning. It's really early in the morning. I've got like 3 hours before I have my weekly Tuesday meetings. Um, I was on LinkedIn for about. I can usually tolerate that platform for about 10 to 15 seconds before I just have to fling that app off of the screen because I hate that fucking app. It's so ridiculous. It's the most cringy thing on the internet. It's nothing but people ass kissers, people trying to make themselves look like they're a bunch of fucking do-gooders and corporate brown-nosing schmucks. And but then there's also these people that are always yelling at you. If you do something this way, you're doing it wrong. Let me tell you with the right way to do it. And it's just like, just shut the fuck up. Oh, I'm so sick of these fucking people on LinkedIn. It's the worst. I can't. I literally I get on that app for about 15 seconds and I'm like done, tapped out. You know, user experience design is not design, and like just nonstop fucking lecturing about everybody's doing everything wrong. I'm gonna show you the right way, or just everybody's doing everything wrong. And then a lot of people bitching about how bad the job market is and how bad companies are treating people right now. There's a lot of that, which that surprises me because the it must be really bad if people are openly posting on the website or the web app or the platform be the right term, the platform where employers are going to look at everything that you say and use it against you. Everything you say can and will be used against you. They're openly complaining about how bad the companies are treating them. Well, you think the next company that comes along is going to read that you don't like how you're being treated by these horrible companies and give you the time of day? No, they're going to exclude you from the job. I can say this because I don't have a chance in hell. And it's like this catch 22 because the money I could make working in a job like I used to have, if I could go back to my career as it was before. You know, these companies act as if taking a couple of years away from your taking a couple of years away from your craft means that you're useless and no good anymore. But there's been times in my life I took 5 years to get off of my bicycle. I didn't ride a bicycle for 5 years. And guess what I did? After 5 years, I was like, you know what? I want to go for a bike ride. So I pulled my bike out from storage, gave it a tune up, loaded it up, and went on a 350-mile bike ride. Like it was nothing. It was a little slow out the gate, but how many of you could just get on a bicycle after 5 years and ride it like it was nothing? But how many of you could put something down that you do day after day after day after day, walk away from it for 5 years, come back and start doing it as if nothing happened? I didn't use a computer. I did not use a computer for almost 2 years because I was in prison. And that's one thing in prison that you cannot, they will not let you put your fucking hands on a computer, a real computer. Um, You can get these tablets in some jails, and I've seen lots of different jail things because I was in 4 different jails. You can get these various tablets where you can basically throw other people's money away on them because it's expensive. I used a tablet in this one jail to send and receive messages, and it was so expensive. It was 50 cents for a fucking email to send and receive. So every time a message came in and a message went out, it cost somebody 50 cents. So those were limited to like 1 or 2 a day. We could do FaceTime, inmate visits where it's on video. But it's not FaceTime. It's like the shittiest version of that you could imagine. Just sending and receiving these text messages. If you had to understand how difficult it was to type a message on one of those tablets, because they were just like, imagine the shittiest phone or the shittiest tablet you've ever seen in your life or used, and realize that the ones that they give you in prison are 10 times worse. The Obama phone that I got for free, or the free Obama phone that I got when I was homeless, is the worst phone I've ever held in my hand. It's the worst phone I've ever used. It's almost completely useless. I have found creative things to use it for. I've never used it as a phone or a text messaging thing, and they're about to turn off the service anyway. I got picked. There's like a random lottery where they force you to reapply, and I got called up in the lottery of people that have to reapply for it. But I don't qualify for it anymore. I checked, just kind of checked in terms of like how little money you have to make to qualify for it. And I don't give that much of a shit about it. So I'm not even going to fill out the forms or anything. It's probably something to do with Elon Musk going around, and how many of these Obama phones are we paying for people that don't need them? Maybe they're looking into like how little it gets used, and so we're going to make anybody who has an Obama phone that barely gets used, let's make them reapply for it. So it'll shut off at some point. It won't work anymore. It'll work as a Wi-Fi device, but it won't connect to the network anymore, and I won't be able to make calls with it and stuff like that. But it's the worst. It's the biggest piece of shit phone I've ever used in my life. It's horrible. It's worse than the old flip phones. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The ones in prison were 10 times worse than that. And then the federal prison, they do have computers in different places. But imagine like a Dell, just your corporate Dell computer with like running Windows 95, where it just goes to a screen that's like the most bare bones basic screen that looks like it was designed by a 85-year-old software engineer that works for the government. And it's Like I can't even compare it to anything because it's so antiquated. Like it's so bad. It's so bad that I can't even like describe it to you to where you would be able to relate to it. But you can log into this computer and you can check your messages. You can look at your. So, yeah, the messages in the federal system, I think they're like 5 cents to send and receive a message instead of 50 cents. But to send or receive messages that are emails or whatever, you have to pay for it. And then you can check your commissary balance, and you can look at certain things like announcements and things like that. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much what you can do. If you have to, like, for example, write a letter to your lawyer or submit a document to the court, you don't get to do it on a computer. You have to use a typewriter. You have to use a fucking, like, who the fuck even owns a typewriter anymore? The only business that typewriter companies, typewriter, it's for you kids that were born after the mid 1990s. A typewriter is kind of like a computer. It's where the computer keyboards came from, but every time you push a button, a little thing comes up and goes whack up against a rubber roller. So it's kind of like having a computer and a printer all in one thing, but you can't, it's not a computer at all. It just, you push a button down and a thing comes up with a letter on it and it stamps the letter on a piece of paper. Look it up. Google. Some hipster has a video about typewriters, I guarantee you. But anyway, the only business that these fucking typewriter companies even do anymore are supplying America's prisons with typewriters and typewriter ribbons and paper. So if you need to, like, for example, send a letter or do a legal document for your case, you have to buy a typewriter ribbon and some paper, and you have to go and use one of the fucking typewriters and clack, 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 clack. Or you pay an inmate with ramen noodles or something from your commissary who, there's what's called jailhouse lawyers that they'll do it for you. Some of these people are pretty fucking smart, I'm not gonna lie. But everybody in jail has some sort of hustle that they do to make money to buy their commissary and whatnot. And jailhouse lawyer is one of the hustles. Some of these people are really fucking smart and know how to use the legal library and know how to draft documents. And what a jailhouse lawyer overheard me talking to somebody about how I was denied my good time, and I was like, whatever, it's only a couple extra months. This dude reaches into a fucking bin of papers that he has. He pulls this out. He goes, here, take this to your case manager. He's like, you'll get your good time, watch. And I walked up, and I'm like reading it, and it was exactly what I needed, but I couldn't find it on my own. And this dude not only knew what I was talking about, he fucking fished it out of a file folder and hands it to me. He goes, here, this is what you need. And I ended up getting 2 months off my sentence, at least. Because I wasn't supposed to come home until August. Or, no, it would have been, I don't even know. I got home early. I got sent home early. because the jailhouse lawyer fished something out of a fucking bin because he overheard me talking, and he goes, "Oh, I know what you're talking about. Let me get that for you. Here you go." So, I'm trying to figure out how I navigated from talking about LinkedIn to jailhouse lawyers in prison. I'm trying to follow the path that got me there on this. This is what happens if I don't take notes before I talk to you guys. Um, wow, it's early in the morning, and this is my mind can't stay focused on one thing right now because of the stress of that all of this has put me under since April 3rd with this retarded ass slumlord. And so it's difficult to stay on point. It's talking about the Obama phone, the bad. But why? Like, this is crazy. I can't, because I had like a whole train of thought I was gonna share in this video, and now I have no idea what it was and why, because I just went way off course. Um, I mean, at least on the positive side of things, I have a place to move. Um, it's a little bit frustrating because I'm waiting for a few things to happen. Obviously, I wrote a personal check, which that was fun. Uh, the land, every landlord I have talked to since I started looking for all the, every single one of them, nobody wants to take a check. They're like, "Do you use Zelle?" That's the new bank transfer software. Every bank pretty much supports it, but those things are dangerous. Um, I might have to set up a checking account specifically for using Zelle to send and receive money. Um, so this is another reason why you might want to have separate checking accounts at different banks because of the tentacles that these apps. I don't know if Zelle is part of the company called Plaid, but there's a company called Plaid that is basically the connection between these apps in your bank account. And so the way I wish I could explain the way it works in a way that most people would understand. But if you use one of these, if you grant permission for an app to link to your bank, there's multiple ways to do this. If you're going to send and receive money, a routing number and account number is all you need. Now, I have linked accounts. I have 2 checking accounts that are linked together, but the only way that they talk to each other is routing number and account number. I used another app called Skrill to receive money from stock photo sales. It wasn't much. It was like $30 or less. But the way that I can send it to myself was give me an account number and a routing number, and I'll send you, and they send you the money. It's that easy. When you want to transfer money out, to your bank account. You just initiate a transfer, routing number, account number, boom, it's out. It'll show up in your bank account. That is the traditional way of transferring between accounts. But when you do one of these modern apps, like, I don't know if Cash App uses it or Vent. I don't use most of these apps. And the reason is, if the technology behind the scenes that connects to your bank account is using this thing called Plaid, the company behind it, what you're basically doing is you are literally giving this company Plaid complete and total access to your bank account, as if you were logging into your bank account yourself. Literally everything that you can see and do when you log into your bank account, Plaid can do once you give it permission to log in. So there's no restrictions as to what they can do. Technically, it may be verbally or in some sort of agreement that we will only do this or that or whatever. But no, as soon as you make that connection, you are literally giving them permission to log into your bank account and do anything, and I mean anything, that you can do yourself when you log into your bank account. And like, I just can't can you wrap your head around how dangerous that is? Like, for example, if you work for a company and you get direct deposit, how do you do direct deposit? You give your company an account number and a routing number, and that's it. Sometimes they ask for a canceled check that you write void across. But to be honest, the last time I was asked to do that, I didn't have any paper checks. And I said, I don't have any paper checks right now. And they're like, that's fine. And so when I was filling out the paperwork, the paperwork asked for a canceled check. I didn't give them one. I still got my direct deposit. I can log in to the app for the payroll company, and I can change my direct deposit by changing the routing number and account number. Now, if you give somebody a routing number and account number, you're basically, that you've unlocked the ability for that person to send money to you, but they can also take money from you. If you know somebody's account number and routing number, you can steal from them. But it's transfers. And it's going to have to go from one account to another. So it's traceable. One of the things, because I met a lot of criminals, one of the things that the criminals do is go on the dark web. There's a guy who went on the dark web, bought thousands and thousands of routing numbers and account numbers. And then he bought a fake ID on the dark web. And then he used the fake ID to set up a checking account at an online bank. An online checking. You can open up an account online in banks all over the place now. You don't have to go in person, but they are going to need some form of ID. So he got a fake identity. He opened up a bank account, or 2 or 3 or 4 or however many, with fake ID that he got, maybe more than one. And from there, he went and bought tens of thousands of account numbers and routing numbers. And so what he did, he used software to do ACH money transfers to all of those account numbers and routing numbers at once. So if you say, if you just randomly decide to bill 10,000 different routing numbers and account numbers, something like $200-300 or something fairly small, a lot of these account numbers and routing numbers were for businesses. And so how many of those transactions are going to go through? Quite a few. And now all of a sudden you have a checking account with $500,000 in it. And then this guy would drive around a network. He would just get in his car and start driving all over the fucking place with all these debit cards for the accounts that he had set up. And he would go from one ATM to another, to another, to another, and just bounce around to different ATM machines, withdrawing the maximum amount of funds that he could take. And by the end of the day, he'd have $10,000 to $20,000 in cash. And he would do this day after day after day until the accounts got closed out. And the way he got caught was he got lazy. Told me, he was like, I got lazy, and he started going to the same ATM machine like every day. Like his patterns of which ATMs he went to and when, and he basically got lazy, and he just started going to the same ATMs over and over again in a pattern that's my route, like a postal route. Like the mailman delivering the mail takes the same route every day. Like me going back and forth to the bakery, take the same fucking route every day. If people knew my bakery schedule, which they do if you watch the videos, and if you put two and two together, you could figure out where I'm going to be at what time. Well, the FBI has smart people that could look at it and go, well, let's just sit in front of this one ATM and wait until he shows up. And they knew what day he'd probably show up. And sure enough, dude pulls up, takes his maximum amount or whatever from the ATM, and then starts to drive home, and all of a sudden, woo! And he's surrounded. And now they've got the evidence, they've got the debit cards, they got the bag of money, all the shit. And so that's how he got caught. But that's what people do. And all they need to do that is your account number and your routing number. Now let's say that your employer said, we're using this new system for direct deposits. The company is called Plaid, and all you have to do is connect your checking account. So it'll be a form on a website where you basically click, and then it'll say, let's connect your account. And it'll ask you to log into your bank account and authorize this to be used with your bank account, blah, blah, blah. Click OK. And now they're connected. What you've just done is you've not only given your employer your bank account and routing number, you've given your employer complete and total access to your bank accounts in every way, shape, or form. Anything that you can do when you log into your bank, your employer can do. Can do everything. Every single thing in the online banking website that you can do yourself, your employer can now do. Everything you see, they can see. So now your employer can log into your bank account and see everything you do. They can see all your transactions. They know what your electric bill costs. They know how much you're paying in rent. They may not know what you bought on Amazon, but they know how much you spent. They know how many times you went to McDonald's. They know how many times you went to Starbucks. And they're gathering all this. That's the point. This company, Plaid, is using the access that you give them to your bank account, and they are data mining you. They're gathering everything about you out of that. So let's just say now that your employer is connected to your bank account, let's just say that your employer's health insurance, because these health insurance companies and all this bullshit that they're doing. What if it'll start out as some kind of incentive to get a discount on your health insurance or some sort of perk by allowing the health insurance to access your bank account, right? And so they're going to see, oh, he went to McDonald's, and oh, he went here, and he ate at Burger King, and so you know what I mean? So they're monitoring your bank account now to see like where you spent your money on fast food and those kinds of things. And if they see certain transactions, or like, oh, he went to a firearms store and spent $500 at Z&H Ammo and Arms. Oh, that's potentially dangerous. Like they're watching you. Like, do you want your employer to be able to log into your bank account and see everything that's in there and see everything that you did? How many of you would say yes to that? Not very many. But that's what you're giving them if you were to allow that to happen. So you got to pay attention to how these things are set up. And so I believe Zelle is one of those apps that connect to your bank account in that way. They put all their tentacles into your bank account for the guise of being able to transfer money, when all you need to do to transfer money is get a routing number and an account number, and that's it. So I'm not opposed to using these modern apps to do modern things, but what I would suggest is that you set up a bank account specifically for that purpose. A bank account that is set up to receive money. I've done this in the past. I had a client who wanted to pay me with wire transfers, and this client of mine was going to have my account number and routing number, and I thought, it's not that I didn't trust the client, I just thought to myself, it would make a lot more sense for me to have an account to receive this money and then just transfer the money to a different account. Now in this case, I did it at the same bank. So I had two checking accounts at the same bank because this was instantaneous. Money would come into the one account, and I would log in and see that, and I would just suck the money out and put it into a different checking account when I saw that there was funds there. But there are situations where if you have that money in two different accounts at the same bank, somebody could still steal the money out of the other account. There are situations where, let's say you have, it's a similar situation to this. Now, the likelihood of that happening is very low. But there are systems in place. Let's say you make automated payments with a credit card for a utility bill or whatever. And let's say you use a debit card instead of a credit card. So it's coming out of a checking account, and it's not just a credit account that you pay every month, because those are a little safer. But let's just say that you set up a utility bill payment out of your checking account using your debit card, but then your debit card gets lost or stolen and you have to get a new card. They have systems in place now that company that has your old debit card number can still charge you, and the charge will be processed every month. Even though you canceled your credit card, or you canceled your debit card and got a new debit card, companies that had your old debit card can still charge you, and the charges will still go through. That defeats the whole purpose of canceling a credit card or canceling a debit card and getting a new card number and a new expiration date and a new CV code. It completely defeats all of that. It allows someone to charge you using your old credit card number. So these systems are in place. There are certain requirements and whatnot, but let's say you join LA Fitness and it's like the mafia. You join that gym, you get a membership there, and now you're a member for life because you can never cancel. Holy shit. Some vehicle just drove by. I thought it was going to drive right into the back wall of this house. The whole place was shaking like this. Card numbers and fraud and what. Okay, so LA Fitness. There are countless people, because I was reading about how hard it is to cancel. That's the reason why I never joined. Even though it's right down the street, it would have been very convenient to just be able to walk over there. Hell, I could have been taking showers by going over there when I didn't have hot water. But there were a couple of reasons why I would want to go over there, but I just never, the fact that you can't cancel easily, it's very, very, very extremely difficult to cancel a gym membership sometimes. You can sign right up, but you can't cancel. You can come in, but you can't leave. So a lot of people will just report their credit card stolen or lost and get a new card issued, and so that they don't get charged their monthly membership anymore. And then they look at their card statement and there it is, LA Fitness charged them again. Even though, so the only way to avoid getting charged by them would be to cancel the account completely, close the account, and have no other cards with that. So there are systems out there that a company could charge you, and if you even closed your bank account, if you have another account at that bank, their tentacles can weave around electronically and figure out that you got money in another account at that bank and take the money out. Now that's a lot more difficult. But it's possible. I was working for a company once, and they turned into a very crooked company. And I was leaving without giving notice on the day that I would get my last paycheck. And so one of the things that happens is when you sign that authorization to get direct deposit by your company, you got to read the fine print, because you're also if you even if all you're doing is giving them your account number and routing number so they can deposit your check electronically, the fine print says they can also take money out of your bank account. The justification would be, let's say if they paid you $1,000 more than they were supposed to. You check your direct deposit and it's $1,000 more than you were expecting, then all of a sudden your company might turn around and say, "Oh, we made a mistake. We need to take that money back out." And they might take that money back out. It happens. Look it up. People have experienced this. So this company became so crooked that I thought in retaliation for me quitting, they might just take money out of my account. So I went to the bank before I quit and opened up a new checking account for that purpose, to slide the money laterally, because I was going to wait until my direct deposit went through, and then I was going to transfer all the money out of that account to the other account and then close the account. And the bank said that the company would not be able to get money out of my account at that point without a court order. But if they have the account number and the routing number, they can take money out, and I'd have absolutely no recourse. I would have to take them to court to get the money back. But if I slide the money laterally into a new account and close and the key is you have to close the old account. Because if I don't close the account, they could overdraft my account, and then the bank would slide the money that I just transferred out to pay the overdraft. So, this is one of those sly ways that, like I said, if you move money from one bank account to another account in the same bank, that's one way that somebody could still rip you off, because the bank will basically cooperate with the scammer. They'll just let your account go negative, and then they'll slide money out of your other account to pay the negative balance. And so, there's multiple ways. So what I suggest is setting up a bank account to receive money, to connect to different systems like that, and then set up a transfer funnel where you just have an account number and a routing number that when money comes into this account, you transfer it to another account. And you could have a debit card, and you can still have, so money comes into the account, but you got to pay a bill right now. Okay, well, you still have a debit card, and it's still a checking account, so you can use it to pay a bill. And then what's left over, slide it over to another bank. Because you want to get it out of the bank itself. If you have this one account that you've connected to a bunch of different crap, like Zelle and PayPal and Skrill, and your direct deposits going through there, and you've got clients that are paying you there, and maybe you have a credit card processing account with Square or Stripe or Clover or Card Connect or any of those big credit card processing companies, and they have tentacles into your bank account. They can pull money out of your bank account. If you have all these different things with hooks into a bank account, Google. If you have a YouTube channel that's big enough and you're getting ad revenue, Google's got a hook into your bank account. There are all these different tentacles touching that bank account. You got to highly suggest you use that bank account as a transfer station. So you take the money from there and funnel it to another bank. Not another account with the same bank, but another bank. Because once it's gone, now the bank is going to have that connection established with the routing number and account number to the bank that you're sending your money to, your secondary checking account. The account that you basically use for your stuff and you use as your money. But you're very careful as to what you don't connect that thing to anything. You write checks, and when you write a check to somebody, they have your account number and routing number. It's on the check. So it's not like it's pretty much impossible to. It's not impossible completely, but it's not. It's entirely possible for your bank, for that information to be spread around. As soon as you write a check to somebody, they have your account number and routing number. They could use that to scam you. But certain things are easier to trace than others. It's just the more hops and jumps that you put your money through like that, the safer it is. Um, so Bank A is the one that, you have connected to everything. If you have, like I said, you have different people that you have to pay, or you have connections established that use this company Plaid that can see everything going on. They can log into your bank account just as you and pretend to be you and do everything that you can do in there unrestricted. And let's say you've got different systems that use that. You've got other people with the routing and account numbers, and you're basically using this account to not only receive money, but in some cases you're using it to send money, like with Zelle or something like that. Your landlord wants you to pay with Zelle. Well, you put the money in that account and you send it through Zelle instead of going through your account that you don't want everybody to have their hands in. And that separation creates a little bit more security, because if that initial account gets compromised and there's no money in it, you can report the fraud and close the account and say, fuck it, walk away from it. But if you only have one account and somebody commits an act of fraud and it's through one of those Plaid systems where there's no accountability and there's no way to trace it or undo it, and the banks pretty much tell you, if you use this, we're not responsible for what goes wrong. So it's kind of like that. Like, if something happens, you can just shut it down and walk away from it without losing all your money. So that's what I'm kind of doing that right now. I have one account where a bunch of stuff happens, and like all the different things like that, electronic payments and things like that, are there. Then I have the other account it's the more traditional stuff. If I get a check in the mail, I go deposit it there. Direct deposit from work goes into that account. Like, so they're separate from each other, but there is a funnel between the two that I can put money from one to the other or move money from the other one to the one. And there's two different ways I can do that, but they're fairly safe and they're unconnected. You can break that connection very easily. You could break that connection by, if you have bank 1 and bank 2, in the bank number 2, you could just create a new account, slide the money to the new account, close the old account. Now that connection is completely severed between the two banks, and so like nothing could happen there. Vice versa, you could go to bank 1 and do so. You just got to think about, in terms of the way this modern shit works, don't keep all your eggs in one basket, because if the fox comes into the hen house, to steal the eggs, if they're all in one basket, it's going to be all the fox has to do is put the handle of the basket in its mouth and run off. But if you got eggs in the hen house in a basket, you got some in the camper, you got some in the fridge, you've got eggs in 20 different places, chances are the fox coming to steal your eggs isn't going to be able to get all of them. And like I said, in the case of giving people full access to your bank account to run wild and look all through it, do you want your company to have full access to your bank account and see everything that you spend the money on that you make? No. Set up a bank account that they can deposit the money into, and then the only transactions that they'll ever be able to see are you taking the money you just got and sending it to another bank account. They're not going to know that you buy stuff on Amazon. They're not going to know where you go grocery shopping. They're not going to know anything. So here's a situation that I worked in big data. So I came up with a scenario. Um, I worked for a company that aggregated the health data records of millions of people's healthcare data into a data warehouse. And then companies could manage their own company's healthcare. Imagine a company with 50,000 employees and they all have health insurance. Somebody in human resources has to manage all of that. Um, and they're trying to mine that data to make better decisions about the health. They're renegotiating healthcare deals every year, so that's why your company might switch health insurance companies every couple of years or whatever, because they're getting a better deal from somebody else. And they needed a system that each one of these health insurance companies have their own systems and they don't talk to each other. So if you're with Aetna one year and you're with, Highmark the next year and you're with another one the next year, all of that data for your entire company and all your employees is going to be different for each one. So this was like a data warehouse where you could store all your data for, and then you can compare apples to apples year after year. And it was all normalized, and the data was made to be the same from one year to the next, no matter what company you choose to work with. And so, but it was all anonymous to an extent. Like, I don't know what case your employer can look up your health information and not have it be anonymous to like look at what you're doing when you go to the doctor and all that kind of crap. I don't know. There's laws about all this stuff. And there's laws that say, for example, a company can't fire a woman because she gets pregnant. But a woman that's getting pregnant is going to be missing a lot of work. She's going to go out on a 3-month leave, 6-month leave, whatever. What if, to cut costs, and she's going to be trying to raise a kid, and that's going to take away from her work. Like, what if you're a shady prick CEO and you're looking to cut costs and you want to know, how can we get rid of all the pregnant women in the company, or the women that are about to be pregnant or whatever, and how can we cull the herd, so to speak, and get rid of them all, and do it without them knowing that we targeted them. So you could run a report you could basically, I figured out how you could do it, even if you didn't have direct access to people's healthcare records, to where you could just be like, so and so is pregnant. And it's kind of like, this is the kind of, and if think about AI, with using AI, you could do this in the blink of an eye. You could corroborate records from multiple databases to target people like this without getting in trouble for it, because it would be hard to prove. So, in a nutshell, like, I elaborated on this. I actually did a whole thing about explain to a group of people, here's how you would do it. But in a nutshell, you have a database. You have employees, okay? And a lot of women, when they get married, they change their last name. Or there's some sort of indication they change their marital status on their forms, their tax forms, whatever. You have all of that. That's all in HR. You can easily figure out all the women who have gone from single to being married recently. So now that's a pool of data that you have to pick from, and you know their names, you know who they are, you know their job title, You know when they change their name, you know when they change their marital status, all that. That's not anonymous. You have where they live. You know you know their zip code and you know their street address. You know every single one of them has a residence listed as their mailing address and their primary residence, or they've all entered a form that says where they live. Is that actually where they live? It may or may not be. I mean, you could make a case that the address that's on file at the company might not be where they actually live. That's possible, but most people don't try to hide that. So you can say that that's 98% accurate, but you're going to have some outliers. Somebody forgot to update their address when they moved, or somebody's using a different address than where they actually live for some other reason. It may not even be nefarious or anything, just for whatever reason. You can't say it's 100% accurate. But so you have their marital status changes, their name changes, you know where they live. Now you've got this pool of healthcare data. But it's anonymous. You can't just associate. You can see everything that was done. If you're the company owner and you are the owner of the healthcare policy, you can look at everything your employees used their health insurance for, but you can't see who used who used it. It's going to be anonymous. But you can see how many. Basically, you can use that data to find out how many women are pregnant. You won't know who they are, but you'll know that we have, in a company of 50,000 people, we have 300 pregnant women right now. Because they're going to the doctor for these certain things, these treatments, these checkups. There's medical codes for about to have a baby, about to have a baby, about to have a baby. And they might be on drugs. So here's the thing, there might be some sort of prescription drug that they give a pregnant woman, or some sort of treatment or whatever, and then guess what? The pharmacy now most people are going to go to a pharmacy to pick up their medication that's within a certain distance of where they live. So you could gather the address of every pharmacy that there's a pregnancy drug or some sort of. I'm just I'm trying to be trying to make this easy for your mind to figure out. But okay, let's say that there's a drug that pregnant women take by and large, and here's every single pharmacy where that drug is being purchased right now. You could come up with a theory that says, well, most people are going to choose a pharmacy that's within 5 miles of where they live. And so you could you could basically take all those zip codes and the addresses of the pharmacies and plot them on a map. And you can plot all the women that just changed their name or changed their marital status on a map. And you could almost corroborate how many of these women live within a couple of miles of these pharmacies. And that's not going to get you what you're looking for, but you can keep doing things like that. This is how the NSA works. This is how the CIA works. They take pieces of unrelated data from unrelated systems, and they find connections that eventually they can piece together just about everything they ever want to know about you by linking unrelated things together. And once they make that connection, they're like, aha. So a company could take all these different sources of data about an employee, and if the healthcare data is anonymous and they're not allowed to see who did what, but just that somebody did this, they could use other pools of data to associate that record and come up with a good guess that so and so, look, this woman here, she just changed her name, she changed her marital status from single to married, she changed her address, and now there's a woman going to the pharmacy 2 blocks away to get this pill, that, basic, oh, or like, to get this medication that only a pregnant woman would take, or going to the OBGYN every 2 weeks for a baby check, baby checkup or whatever, 2 blocks, a mile and a half from this address. Like you could basically create a list of pregnant women by pooling all this data together and using some intelligence behind it to make an assumption like, here are the 300 pregnant women in a company of 50,000. Now, how do we fire all of them? You can't just call them all down to HR tomorrow and say you're all fired, because they might start talking to each other and they might figure out that they were all targeted. But let's say you're doing a broader, say there's 300 pregnant women, but you're doing a broader culling of the herd where you're laying off 2,000 employees, culling the herd. You can group those pregnant women into the culling of the herd, and you can do it in stages, and you can, like, now you've got performance reviews associated. So you got these 300 pregnant women you want to get rid of because you don't want to pay for their medical leave, and you just want to get, because they're not going to be coming into work for 3 months or 6 months or whatever, and they're going to be too busy raising a baby to bother doing the job. They're not going to be working overtime and weekends. We got to get rid of these pregnant women and hire young, stupid kids who, we'll give them pet insurance. That'll, so that they know their dogs. They leave their dogs in a crate all day and let them out when they get back to their apartment. But we want these young people who don't have any kids working for us. So if you want to cull the herd and get rid of the 300 pregnant women, this is how you would go about doing it. And like I said, now you can use performance reviews and anything that you have on their file. You can get the low performing ones, or the ones that have a black mark on their record, and you can right out the door. But the ones that are exemplary, the ones that have done a good job, the ones that have the 5-star performance reviews, you got to figure out another way. You're going to have to pad their layoff with 5 more layoffs from that department, and do it all at once so it doesn't look like you targeted the pregnant chick. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how a crooked ass CEO and the board would go about doing, like, let's get rid of all these pregnant women so we don't have to pay for their maternity leave. These are the ways that they can do that, using connected bits of data like that. And so I don't even know how the hell I got I don't know how the pathway of my conversation and thought process got from where it started to where it ended in this video, but just think about some of those things. And we live in a modern world that's not only batshit crazy, but AI is about to make it a million times worse for everybody. And, think about a robot that knows everything about you and can instantly, take all the different pathways that I've talked about to piece together every single aspect of your life and then turn around and use it against you to ruin your life. And, if you don't get any sleep thinking about that between now and the next video, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.